All right, here we go. So we're on part two of this series, building the address book and using React Router. Before we go into writing up some code, I know some people are having issues, particularly with like Linux or Windows devices, with the installation, and that's tripping up a lot of folks. If you do not have an interactive shell, I've been trying to research, try to figure out how to change a non-interactive shell into an interactive one. I haven't found that out yet. So found a quick way to do it, um, to fix this issue, and hoping that it works. So again, when you're in your Git Bash and you're trying to do the installations to spin up this project and have the template for you, you may run into an issue where it says that the shell is not interactive. If that happens, if that occurs for you, what we had to do, some of my coders, I went to Vite, I type well npm Vite rather, and I wanted to create a Vite project, just a template, and so npm 7 plus, because I think we're in 7.12, I want to say. Anyways, type this line of code right here inside of uh, your terminal, npm create vite at latest, and then my dash view app, and then dash dash. You got to have a double dash, an extra one rather, and then dash dash template view. And then after that, it'll prompt you to say um, npm install. Well, you go into your folder, so go into that my view app folder. So cd my view app, and then you need to do an npm install, and then you can run npm run dev, and that will create the Vite template. Okay, so if that happens for you, you'll have to create a Vite template, and then what you'll need to do is you can check out my repository for my address for my React Router app, and I can post that again in my description. So you'll have the repository for this, and you'll need to essentially cut and paste. So you have to gut some information, not all of it, okay, but you need to match up what is inside of your folder structure for your Vue app and match it with what I have in my React Router app. Uh, as far as the package.json file, that's good. Everything's good there. It checks out. But that app folder, you'll need that app folder with the routes that and the contact.tsx, that file and folder we just created, and then the app.css, the data.ts, root.tsx, routes.ts. You're definitely going to need to add, well, copy. You can just copy and paste those, add that as well, and it should work. I'm hoping that it does. I'm really hoping that it does. And again, check everything else to make sure that it matches up with what I have so far. Because I want to move along with this project, and again, just check and make sure. And also, if you want to, you can always look up and see if you can figure out how to change your shell from non-interactive to interactive, because I think that is the issue that we're having. All right, so that being said, we are looking at nested routes and outlets. Okay, so with React Router, and we looked at this in the lesson before, we can nest routes. Okay, and when we nest routes, uh, we see here it says we need to render an outlet inside of the parent to have child routes to render inside of a parent. So in other words, we'll have a parent container, okay, or parent component, and we want children to be inside of the parent and be able to render dynamically those children, not the whole thing. Okay. With the previous lesson that we did, when we clicked on a link, like it was the store, it would render an entire new component. That's not what we want to do here. We want to have these routes nested so that when I click on the child, or when I click on a link, what have you, only the child is going to render, not the parent and everything else included. Okay, so here we go. That being said, let's get into this. We look here, and it says we need to render an outlet in the parent. Let's fix this. Open up our our root.tsx and render an outlet inside. Okay, so I'm going to come over to root.tsx. Okay, and so in here in our import, we're going to add outlet right there. Don't forget your comma, otherwise it'll break. It'll probably let you know. Well, it's not going to probably, it is going to let you know, hey, you forgot me. All right, so there's an outlet right there. And then we're going to add here, so in our app component here, we're going to add this. This is going to be our child component. So detail, so underneath this sidebar, where are you, sidebar? That's an app, correct? Oh, here. Right underneath the sidebar. So other elements. So after the sidebar div, which closes right here. Nope, it closes. Ooh, I think this closes the sidebar. Yep, that closes. So after the sidebar. So down here at the very bottom, we're going to make a div with an ID of detail. Okay, div with an ID of detail. And then inside of there, we're going to render the outlet component. Like so. Okay. Now the child should be rendering through the outlet. So, and there we see, there's the child component. So if I click on your friend, it's not doing anything just yet. We haven't worked on that, but there is the child. So at this point, if you want to, you can go ahead and let's put our name in there. Let's add ourselves as a contact. I'm going to come over here to contact, and where it says contact, I'm going to provide my name. If I can spell my name correctly. There we go. All right. And then avatar, I'm just gonna go to the web and I'm gonna look me up old DJ Daddy Bug. There we go, right there. How about that one? That looks cool. Let's copy the image address. Let's see if this works. I'm gonna place that right here. I hope the address isn't like insanely long. And it is. Ha. My Twitter handle, which is at Satchwork. And I can put some notes here, you know. And let's see what it looks like. Oh, there we go. Great. So that's working. Of course, I'm a favorite. How could I not be? So now the child component should be rendered through the outlet. So if I come over here, click on, again, your friend is not going to change because there's not data that's added there. All right. So cool. Now let's look at client-side routing. You may or may have noticed, but you may or may not have noticed, but when we click the links in the sidebar, the browser is doing a full document request for the next URL instead of client-side routing. What that means is here, when I click on this, the entire, you could kind of see up here, the entire browser is rerouting, okay? And so that's not what we want. We just want to have just this child component to be rerouted. So what do we got to do? Client-side routing allows our app to update the URL without reloading the entire page. Okay, instead the app can immediately render new UI. Let's make it happen with the link. So we're going to change that sidebar href anchor tag to a link component. And again, the link component is part of the React router library, and it says, hey, link to this particular path or this particular route. So we need to add the link component here inside of root. So right above the outlet, I'm going to add the link. So I'm going to import the link, and it says we need to change the anchor tag. So here, let's go to the nav. Nav, where are you? Did I? I probably did. Yeah, I did pass it. Okay, so here, the UL here, instead of your name, your friend right here, instead of using the anchor tag, we're going to use the link. Okay, so I'm just going to come right here, right below it. I'm going to say link to, and this pathing is going to be the same. It's going to be slash contacts /1, and then your name. I can remove that. And then here, again, link to, that's going to be contacts /2. Your friend. I'm not your friend, buddy. Oh, there's 2 Ks right there. Link. Right, there we go. And I'm going to remove that anchor tag. So now let's look at it now. Come over here and click. And there. Now it's not reloading the whole page. It is actually rendering a new component. So that's one of the cool things, the beautiful things about using React and React Router is that, again, it doesn't reload the entire page and have that little effect there. I mean, sometimes depending on the browser, it could, or the data, it could slow up the information. I mean, it could do that. So this works a little better because it is reacting to the interaction by the user, and thus just rendering a new component or updating the component as opposed to refreshing the entire page. Okay, now let's try to load some data. Let's see what we got here. URL segments, layouts, and data are more often than not coupled, tripled even, together, or three together. Yeah. We can see it in this app already. So we look here, URL segment, the slash, and that's the app component. It gives a list of contacts, contact / contact ID, renders a contact component, and it had the data is the individual contact. Because it's natural coupling, React Router has data convention to get data into your route components easily. First, we'll create and export a client loader, okay, function in the root route, and then render the data. All right, so let's do that. We need to go to root.tsx, okay. Let's go over here to root.tsx. All right. And here we can see a lot of these helper, well, there's not a lot of them, it's just this one right here. This error bundling handler. All right. Let's export, we'll import. First, we need to import get contacts from data. So let's do that. I'm gonna do that right here. I'm putting that right here. So import get contacts from data. When I come over here to data, I have all these helper functions here, and let's find get contacts. Maybe I passed it. Here it is right here. What is get contact? Here's get contacts right here. Okay, so here's a little helper function, get contacts. All right. And it is an asynchronous function with a promise inside. It says, hey, let's go and try to get these contacts and match them up and then return the contacts. All right. So we imported it here, and now we need to run our client loader. Okay, so we have our existing exports, and underneath it, again in root.tsx, come back over here. So we got that one, and so let's put it underneath. Let's put it down here, and we're gonna say export async function client loader. And this client loader does not take an argument, so. And I'm going to say const contacts.
Hey, you got a second before you leave?
Const contacts gets await get contacts. We're doing an instantiation of get contacts, so we're running this async function here, get contacts, and contacts is going to be whatever is returned from it, and then we're going to return as an object contacts. Okay. And so now inside of our app, let's come back up here to app. And what do we need to do here? Looks like we need to add loader data as an argument. So here in app, I'm going to run loader data. And then I'm going to say, do we import loader data? Do I need to import it? Oh no, we'll find out. All right, const contact. So before my return, const contacts is going to get oh, I'm sorry, we're destructuring contacts. Let me get that right. Let's destructure it. We're going to destructure it from this from loader data. Oh, that looks like parentheses. No, let's curly braces. So const contacts, it's loader data. I'm getting an error message right here. Binding element implicitly has an any type. Okay, we'll see how that works. We'll find out. All right, and then we need to add this right here. And this is just going to load up the context dynamically based on whatever is inside of the object. Okay, so inside of our nav, so here's our nav here. So let's I'm not going to just completely gut that. I'm going to leave that stuff because I don't want to type that over again. But I am going to say, hey, context.length. So right here, I'm going to use a ternary. I'm saying context.length. So in other words, if that context has some context in there, essentially, open parentheses, close it, and then I can take that entire UL and add that here inside of the parentheses because we are rendering this. Okay. Let's see. Am I doing this right? Into context. So I need to change that. So, okay. Yeah, here we go. So now, yeah, I can remove this now, this LI, because what we want to do here is we want to map through contacts. So let's break in the curly braces again and say contacts.map because we want to map through our contacts. Oh, what did I do? There you go. We want to map through contacts, take each contact, and we want to make an LI with the key is going to be contact ID. And inside of this LI, we're going to add the link component, and its toProp is going to be contact / and then contact ID. And let me make sure, yeah, contact / and then $ curly brace, do a string temp literal contact.id. And then we're going to add in here contact.first. So basically, we're going to be passing in whatever the first name or the last name is, contact. And we're asking here, does it have a first name or last name? So does it have a first name or, excuse me, let me get this right. Kind of the first. Does it have a contact.first or have a contact.last? And if it does, then what are we going to do? We're going to render this. We're going to put this in fragments so that way it's the parent, if you will. And we'll pass in contact.first and then contact.last. So this is just going to pass in the first and last name of the contact here. Okay. And then after this set of parentheses right here, this is our else. Else, what are we going to do if it doesn't have a first or last name? Well, if it doesn't, I did it again. If it doesn't, we're going to render this here and just say no name. Not NAMI, but name. Okay. And then after, see that's closed up, and then that curly brace is closed. Let's see where does that go? So no name. All right. And then let me make sure that I got this open and closed correctly. I want to make sure. Let me see. I'm just checking. Yeah, I'm trying to see. I think I need it right here. I think. Let's see. Make sure I got my curly braces matched up correctly. And contact that length. And then a UL. And then open curly brace right here. Contacts dot map, and then 2 parentheses 1, and then my curly brace. Oh, I see what I did. This here, that should not be a curly brace. That should be a parentheses. Yep. So I need to change this here to parentheses, and that means change this one to parentheses as well. That should be open parentheses. There we go. All right, so there's that. And continue going down here. And then the LI, okay. And then the link component, okay. And then contact dot first opens up right there. Contact dot last, and that is where I've put a curly brace here, and I should not have. So contact dot last, and then question mark parentheses, and then contact dot first dot contact dot last, and then close up that. Open that up, close that. Cool. And then the no name, close, and then now here's where I put a curly brace. Cool. So from a curly brace right there, and then all right, cool. So now underneath here, there we go. I'm gonna have to look at that contact and see what the deal is with that. I'm gonna clean this up, no worries. So now gonna add like if this is a favorite or not. So curly brace. And I'm asking because it's a ternary contact dot favorite. Is this a favorite? And if it is, we're going to render a span. And on this span, we'll do the star. I'm just going to make this real easy for myself. I'm just going to copy that right there. And yep, let's close up the span tag. And on the inside, just paste that star there. Okay. And then after these set of parentheses right here, else no. And then that closes the link, closes the LI, parentheses, parentheses, curly brace, parentheses, parentheses, curly brace, close the UL up. Okay, and then there's my parentheses, because that's all nested ternaries upon nested ternary. And so then I need to put a parentheses a colon right here, else, and then I'm going to render something else. I'm going to render a P element. P element with an I element for italics, and it's what, say no contacts. Yep. No contacts. Woo. All right, let me see. What don't you like right here? Oh, okay. That's fine. Yeah, because that's from the loader data. So I think that should be okay. And so now React Router will automatically keep the data in sync with your UI. Sidebar should now look like this. And it does. Cool. It's got all these great people on here. I'm not seeing their information, but it is loaded up. Okay. So we'll pause for the cause right here and get back into this with a new video later. I had to do a lot of cleaning up on here. So yeah, just you want to check through here. Make sure that syntax, okay, check all those things, check your spelling, see if you have any other kind of issues with your application so far. And in the next video, I think what we're going to do is look at type safety. Okay, so that going to check on that loader data that we just created, because we have the issue there, because right now it's taking any kind of data type, and we don't want that. So we'll need to fix that, but we're going to do that in our next video.